It was June of 2019 when a young woman vanished after getting off a flight from Los Angeles, California, to Salt Lake City, Utah. An investigation would uncover that she had ordered a lift from the airport, but it didn't take her back home. Instead, she was driven to a local park in the dead of night. Mackenzie Lueck was a 23-year-old woman originally from El Segundo, California. She had moved from California to Salt Lake City, Utah, where she was studying kinesiology and pre-nursing at the University of Utah. Mackenzie had been studying since 2014. She lived in an apartment near Trolley Square and was also a member of the Alpha Chi Omega sorority. Mackenzie loved to travel, having recently traveled alone throughout Europe. She had ambitions to attend nursing school or medical school and was looking forward to starting a career that focused on helping other people. Mackenzie's family, including her parents Greg and Diana, still lived in California, mostly in the Los Angeles area. She had been raised in the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints and had one older brother and two younger brothers. Mackenzie was also athletic. She played water polo in high school and was on the swim team. In the middle of June 2019, Mackenzie flew from Salt Lake City to Los Angeles, California, to attend her grandmother's funeral. It was Thursday, June 20th, 2019, when Mackenzie's parents reported her missing to Salt Lake City police. They informed the police that the last time they had spoken to Mackenzie was on Monday. She texted them at around 2 a.m. from the Salt Lake City International Airport, informing them that she had arrived safely from California. Since then, her cell phone had been switched off. The last time it was used was around 3 a.m. that morning. The first course of action for the police was to get in contact with Mackenzie's friends to try to retrace her last known movements. Her friends informed them that she hadn't shown up to work as a lab associate at P Health Services in Mill Creek and hadn't attended their classes at the University of Utah. Mackenzie's friends went to her apartment but found she wasn't there. Her car was still at the apartment, but her luggage was nowhere to be seen. They also spoke with neighbors and asked them to keep an eye out for her. In an effort to generate interest, her friends printed out missing person flyers and distributed them throughout the area. The missing person flyers described Mackenzie as standing 5'6" inches tall and weighing around 120 pounds. Mackenzie lived away from her parents but was in constant contact via text messages and phone calls. Her friends commented that not answering her phone was very unusual. Even if she was missing or wanted to disappear, she would need to turn her phone on for GPS. Mackenzie's loved ones utilized social media, setting up a Facebook page called Find Mackenzie Lueck. In a statement, her family said, "Our primary goal is to find Mackenzie and bring her home. Her family is grateful for the concern, prayers, and tireless efforts of the Salt Lake City Police and members of the community." According to Mackenzie's family, they believed that after leaving the airport in Salt Lake City, she ordered a Lyft driver from her mobile phone. The Lyft driver released a statement that read, "We recognize how scary this must be for those who know and love Mackenzie Lueck. The safety of our community is fundamental to Lyft, and we are actively assisting law enforcement with their investigation." They confirmed that Mackenzie had indeed ordered a Lyft driver and revealed that her ride contained no irregularities and ended at the destination Mackenzie had put in. The driver then continued picking up customers after her ride ended. Mackenzie was very dedicated to her studies. She'd also left behind her card. Nevertheless, police hadn't released anything to indicate they believed Mackenzie was in danger. They referred to her as a missing person, and there was no formal search party within Salt Lake City. The Lyft driver said that Mackenzie was meeting someone at Hatch Park, a park in a Salt Lake City suburb around 20 minutes away from her apartment. When Mackenzie got out of his vehicle, she didn't appear to be distressed. Mackenzie then climbed into another person's car at around 3 a.m. "It's something I just marked as odd, but I didn't think much of it until the police contacted me. When I got there, it didn't seem off or anything." She actually said, "Boy, this, conversation, something." I was like, "Well, that's strange." But she said, "Not as strange as where you're dropping me off." She brought that up and said that it was odd that she was being dropped off there. So dropped off people in stranger places, I mean, around town, So it's something I just marked as odd, but didn't really think much of it until the police contacted me. In the morning, police announced that they'd searched the park and surrounding area several times and reviewed surveillance footage from the area. Unfortunately, at the time, the park had dummy cameras. Police additionally said they had no reason to continue with the Lyft driver's story. Police released some photographs of Mackenzie from inside the airport, hoping they could refresh someone's memory. She was wearing black sweatpants and a light-colored sweater, carrying a small black backpack, a large blue purse, and a bronze suitcase. They also issued a public appeal to the person who met Mackenzie at the park, stating, "We've exhausted all avenues of determining that information and want to ask this person to please call us." While it was known Mackenzie had met someone at the park, police still didn't know who the person was. When it was reported in the media that Mackenzie had been dropped off at a park in the early morning hours, some people took to social media and essentially blamed Mackenzie for her own disappearance, suggesting she was irresponsible for going to a park late at night. After the first week passed with no information, police obtained a search warrant for Mackenzie's cell phone records. Surveillance footage of the airport had captured Mackenzie texting with somebody as she was leaving the airport, and there was speculation that this person could have been the one she met at the park. As the search for Mackenzie was underway, her friends put out a public plea for information and asked others in the area to join in. By this point, a tip line had been implemented, and around 200 tips had come in, each one being thoroughly investigated. It seems from her Facebook posts that this was something she was more than familiar with. When they got a hold of Mackenzie's phone records, it showed that she had been in contact with a fellow named Ayula Ajayi. His phone was also in the park that night, within 1 minute of Mackenzie's phone being there. After days of silence, a move on Mackenzie's Instagram account occurred. It suddenly followed a page called Fatherless, which led police to a home in Fair Park, the owner of which is now being called a person of interest. In the midst of a tense exchange, AJ found himself unexpectedly detained by detectives, their words leaving him bewildered as he grappled with the sudden turn of events. Despite his confusion, he complied, albeit reluctantly, knowing that his freedom hung in the balance. The atmosphere was thick with uncertainty as they navigated through a labyrinth of questions and accusations, each word weighing heavily on AJ's conscience. Meanwhile, the narrative surrounding AJ's activities began to unfold, pieced together by the accounts of vigilant neighbors and the revelations of a troubled past. Tales of backyard fires and clandestine construction projects painted a picture of secrecy and suspicion, casting a shadow over AJ's once tranquil existence. The contractor's unsettling encounter served as a chilling prelude to the events that would soon unfold, a foreshadowing of the darkness lurking beneath the surface. As the investigation deepened, AJ's facade began to crumble, his carefully crafted alibis unraveling in the face of overwhelming evidence. The charred remnants of Mackenzie's belongings bore silent witness to the horrors that had transpired, each piece of evidence serving as a damning indictment of AJ's guilt. Despite his protestations of innocence, the truth loomed large, casting a pall over his every word and gesture. In the quiet moments that followed, AJ's resolve wavered, his carefully constructed defenses crumbling under the weight of his own deceit. The interrogation room became a crucible of truth and lies, each question probing deeper into the heart of darkness that lay within. With each passing moment, the gap between truth and fiction narrowed, until there was nowhere left to hide. In the end, justice prevailed, albeit at a cost too heavy to bear. Mackenzie's family grappled with the agonizing reality of their loss, their grief echoing through the corridors of power as AJ faced the full weight of his crimes. In the silence that followed, the echoes of a life cut short reverberated through the hearts of all who had been touched by tragedy, a stark reminder of the fragility of human existence.